Friends, let's talk about the 5 things I recommend you do when you buy a vacant house. Now, for those of you watching, I'm nice and sweaty and about to go take a shower. I recently bought a property that's been vacant, and so this is some of the things that I'm focusing on right now. And I thought I'd share as a practical tip. For those of you who don't know, my name's Courtney Fricky. I've been filming one video a day for the first 100 days of 2025. And guys, we're nearing the end, but the goal has always been for these tips to be practical and helpful. All right, so now this is for very specifically a vacant house. A house that was sitting vacant either for only a little bit or for a long bit. And so you close on the property. And so these are some of the things that I want you to have top of mind. So the first thing is you want to secure the property. So a few things that I mean by this is, depending on how long it's been vacant, you want to make sure that it's secured and safe. The one that I just recently bought had squatters about a year or two ago, and so I want to make sure they don't come back. I want to make sure that nosy neighbors are not going into the house. Learned about that as well. So one of the first things you want to do is you want to change the locks. This could be to stop the owner or anyone who had interest, like so maybe like a former tenant, a family member who had a lock, anything like that. So you want to change the locks and go and count your exterior doors. Like I'm not saying just change the front door, change all the locks. You can get if the hardware is good and the door is good, call out a locksmith and have them just change out the cylinder in the door. The doors that the property I just bought, most of those doors are rotted or there's issues, or because of the squatters, they were all screwed into, boarded up, and like just all around banged up. And so we're not keeping anything. We're getting whole new brand new doors type of thing. So locks and everything. Um, you also want to address any security concerns. So, for example, we have, there is, I'll be honest, like there's some open areas. There is like underneath like the fascia in the soffit, there's some openings there. And I'm not just talking about security from people, I'm talking security from pests, right? So this week we are closing up some of those areas just to go ahead and start. We want to get as close to a blank canvas as possible. And part of that is we don't want to be fighting against, squirrels getting into things or whatever. So any security concerns you may have, maybe there's been a returning squatter, old renter, old family member that doesn't stay away, anything like that. Um, so that's important. Maybe you need to install cameras. Now the hard part with cameras, you've got like the game camera that can kind of go off like cell phone service, right? You've got like for hunters, or you've got the Wi-Fi thing. If you can easily turn power on and tie it into the power and get Wi-Fi there, there's some options for stuff like that. It can look like a few different things. And then if you need to put up no trespassing signs, smile you're on camera signs. And then if you have any busted windows, so one of the things we're doing, we have some busted windows in this house. We're gonna go replace the glass in those windows. And then you want to go and make sure every window is locked. A lot of the windows, when we buy houses, those windows are unlocked. And so that could be a point of entry. So that's all when it comes to securing the property. You want to make sure it's nice and safe, it's nice and secure, and no one who's not supposed to be there is getting in. So the second thing is you want to assess and set up utilities. So you buy a property, and so usually I do this before or at the closing. I ask the seller. I ask them, I say, you know, I try to get as much of this information from them, but if it's a vacant property, they may or may not know. The property I recently bought, I got it from the air. Now, she could have asked her mom. Sometimes you have someone who's in the know, sometimes you don't. So it just depends on the situation. You might have to do research otherwise. But here are the utilities you want to check out: the water, sewer, gas, electric, Wi-Fi, and trash. Now those things may vary for the house, all of that. Bonus is not a utility, but somewhat similar, HOA. So that's another thing. Um, and then here's my tip. You want to know where the shutoffs are. So this house that I bought, there is the water is public and there's a shutoff valve. And so I went and found that because in the event that we have a leak, I want to know exactly where to go to turn it off. And then you want to find out, like, is water and sewer tied together? I've some properties that water, sewer, and trash are all on the same bill from the city. So it really just depends on the utility companies and that whole setup in the area. All of my properties I feel like are different, so that's going to be, it may vary. The seller, though, depending on the situation, should be able to help greatly with this. If you bought with a real estate agent, they may be able to help with this. And sometimes there are utility concierge companies that'll help you, turn this stuff on. Just it varies by your area. So the third thing, and this is actually something I went and I did today, introduce yourself to neighbors. I've got to do some more introducing tomorrow. Um, there were some people who were just not there when I was there earlier. This is a house that I bought that had been vacant for years. It previously had some squatter issues. And so I'm like, hey, look, first of all, there's a new owner. Hi, my name's Courtney. And then the other part of that is going to be addressing the situation. I understand that this house has been vacant. I'm just going to let you know there is going to be activity around there. We are going to be renovating it. Hey, here's, my name, my phone number. If you've got a business card, give them one. And just say if there's ever any issue, if you ever have any concerns, feel free to call me. And then, guys, this is a phenomenal opportunity. Tell them what you do. Yeah, I frequently buy houses like this one. So the one I just bought, it was a vacant hoarder house where one of the owners passed away. And so I was like, houses like this one where there's a lot of problems tied to it, they had, and just kind of name them out. Hey, all the neighbors knew, so it's not anything new, right? That was a hoarder house, that it had been vacant for a while, and they had squatters. They also knew that it needs work. They also knew that one of the owners died. And so you say, hey, if you ever know of any other situation like this, I'm always open. I'm always looking to buy. And so finding out what's going on and then going from there. And then but I really want to establish some lines of communication. Sometimes neighbors, every now and then you get the ones that are nosy and not a good they're not like they're a problem, or they call you way too much. You've got to learn how to deal with that conversation wise. But otherwise, I want to open up lines of communication. I want to tell more people about what I do rather than less. All right. Step number four here is you want to go ahead and plan your timeline for your scope of work. So, what is a scope of work? A scope of work is the outline of all the repairs and updating and anything that you're going to be doing for the house. So, like for example, you want to not only have a scope of work, which is a document of all the repairs and whatnot, that all the stuff that the house needs. Okay. But you also want to build out a timeline because, for example, you don't want to call the cleaner, the deep cleaner, to come in and clean the house, like the cleaning you would do right before you list it for sale or for rent, in the middle of the project, right? You want to hire her, or that company, whoever that is, you want to hire them last, right? But then at the same time, you don't want to put in new flooring before you fix the hole in the roof, right? Uh, so there's a level there. You need to figure out which items you need to tackle first. You usually want to make sure you secure up any, water leaks, any issues like that, any demo that needs to get done. You want to think about, hey, what's the natural process here, and even talk to your subs. Like, they may say, hey, you know what, it's gonna be a lot more difficult for me to paint when there's new flooring in here. So if I can get the painting done before the flooring gets installed, that'd be great. Whatever that looks like. So the house that I just bought, this is another thing you want to keep in mind. The house I just bought has a very narrow, like long driveway, and that goes to a short front yard right in front of the house. And so I need to get a dumpster in there. But at the same time, I also need to have a few other crews working. And so I can wait for that dumpster to come. So we've just been piling up some of the debris on the front porch. And then while those other crews are doing the things they need to do so that they're not blocked, and then once they're done, we're gonna get the dumpster delivered, and then we can just put that stuff in the front porch onto into the dumpster. So keep in mind when your crews are gonna be working on top of each other, And everyone's kind of different with how they time things or how they line up their crews. But another tip is going to be whether it's materials or the schedule for the subcontractor or the contractor. You may have a painter that's 4 weeks out because he has other jobs lined up that you need to get on their schedule now and keep in mind, or maybe, hey, I've got to order this vanity and it's going to take 6 weeks to get in. You want to make sure that you're lining things up and figuring out so much about not just price, but timeline. When can you start and how long will it take? And then what about the materials? Will you be able to have the materials right away, or is there any type of ordering delay? So you want to keep all of that in mind. And then the fifth thing is when you're buying a vacant house, and you're securing the security, you're assessing and setting up utilities, you're telling the neighbors who you are, introducing yourself, and you are lining up your timeline for your scope of work. My fifth and final tip for you is don't let that thing stay vacant. Get through the project. I've been guilty of letting stuff stay vacant longer than they should have. And you just want to remember vacant properties are the bane of my existence. Like they are they're a problem. They're a problem in the real estate industry. They cause people problems more than people know. Between the potential for squatters, if there's a leak, you don't know about it, and it's just, time is money. And so you want to be mindful so that you're not wasting that. And you want to make sure you're not staying vacant. I mean, when a property is vacant, the insurance is a lot more expensive than elsewise. So keep that all in mind. And at the end of the day, I want you to have a clear plan and address it. And there's going to be hiccups that come, but tackle them along the way. But give yourself a little bit of buffer time for stuff like that that'll come up, and go from there. All right, guys. Hope you're having a great one. Look, tackling vacant properties, buying properties that have been vacant, they are a great source of deals for me. But whatever causes them to go vacant. But keep in mind at the end of the day, you've also got to address some of the hurdles that come with a vacant property. All right, cheering you along. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning along.